Hello, this is the Harvard Light. I'm Mary. I give a conservative perspective about the world around me. So this episode is about the power of the word of mouth. And I'm quite interested to know what you all think about that aspect of using that strategy as a marketing tool for businesses. And so I'm, of course, going to give my thoughts about it. And then I'm going to give the definition and the origin where it came from. And I think that is a good supplement to understand where the original intention of language and where it comes from and how that manifests, and to the aspects of how people use it for business and so forth, and how to utilize that as a strategy for the success or the failure of a business. And then I'm going to highlight the 1984 ad that Apple did to get the vehicle going about the aspect of using visual effects and how that implements the brand and the longevity that is of the brand. All right, so here we go. Let's get into this. Okay, so of course these sources will be provided for you in this episode. Yeah. So I'm reading from the idioms and word of mouth. So meaning says oral communication refers to the act of people sharing information with others, to volunteer information about something and be willing to tell others. Spoken words used to convey information, verbal communication between people. All right, so let's break it down into sentence examples. One example. So, to truly create the right buzz about this movie, we need to get the required word of mouth going in this city. Most of the negative information about our school appears to come from crazy stories being spread by word of mouth in the town's social circles. The best marketing campaign happens by word of mouth. Look out. Look. What did Telsa do? Yeah, baby. Everyone knows Doug is a bully. It spreads through word of mouth across the whole school. Okay, so the origin of the phrase can be traced back to 1533 when the Oxford English Dictionary noted this first written occurrence. It was defined as the act of speaking, which is when information is passed from one person to another by the use of speech. Basically, it is what we call oral communication. So the phrase is from the Old English word mouth, meaning mouth. So word of mouth is speech. Hold on, baby. So word of mouth is speech that is directly communicated from one person's mouth to the ears of another. As its most basic, it can be said to be interpersonal communication through oral speech. So the use of word of mouth mostly occurs in informal settings, and therefore people trust the information that is usually straight from the mouths of their family and friends. Most businesses and reputations are built and destroyed by word of mouth. All right, so I'm going to give a personal example of word of mouth, of how effective it is. That's coming up next.
Now.
Okay, so again, you hear roosters in the background. My family and I, we have roosters, chickens, and doing that, we think it's good to have that aspect of taking care of farm animals, especially to teach that to our children, and also the benefits that we get with knowing where our food comes from, and specifically with eggs and all of that, and how high eggs cost today and the price of that, all that. So you hear them in the background, that's what's happening. All right, so really great example, personal example I have about word of mouth is the company Crave Cupcakes. So back when I was going to the U of H, I was working in the communications department, specifically in the media production area. And so, yes, baby. Okay, sweetie, try again, okay? And while I was working there at coworkers, and then, it was a teacher, and she had some cupcakes, and she was asking if we would like to try. And Mommy, I take this out. Yeah, and I was curious about them because they look so interesting as far as the physical, really more of the visual representation of how the cupcakes look. Because typically before Typically before I saw, with cupcakes I was used to, it was either something like, for instance, a whole bunch of frosting on top or a little decal on the top for decoration, or it was a whole bunch of frosting, right, and sprinkles covered everywhere on the frosting, and there you go, something simple. But these cupcakes were quite different. So not only did it had the icing, but the icing was molded to shape the cupcake in a formal way, to where you're getting a problem most of the time, and those who like cupcakes, with the frosting, specifically when it's the way it's iced, when it's iced in a cone, rigid ice cream shape, to where when you bite into it or you eat the frosting, you have the problem of having too much frosting at once, or it falls off. But the way that it was just frosted on, more like molded on, is if it's a cake, is very helpful, and is very thoughtful in the fact of that aspect. They thought about that. And then biting into the cupcake is you get all these rich flavors, and specifically the type of cupcake I had was like a strawberry cream sort of cupcake, and you could taste how moist the flavor of the strawberry and the moist of the cream, and it was done so well. It was so decadent, and it was very fresh. So it got to my curiosity to want to know about this company and find out about them. And the professor and other students, they were saying, the cupcakes are great. They do a lot of different things. They take a lot of different measures and a lot of different flavors with cupcakes. I was like, wow, I never heard of this company. They're like, yeah, you should try it out. And so I did. And so the two locations that they have, so they're in Houston. So they have one in Kirby and one in the uptown part of Houston. And so they don't run ads. They just, it's specifically, from what I understand, is word of mouth. And that's one of those staple things, of word of mouth, of how things get relayed to the what's impactful about your business, or what's not impactful about your business. So I think that word of mouth is one of those things that stands the test of time, of what you represent and what you okay, baby, and how you feel, and what you and what the customers feel about your product. So the fact that with Crave Cupcakes, they take the time to pay attention to the details, but they also are the makers, the bakers, and the creators of the company. They're also empathetic of the aspect of the problems that are the functional design flaws and issues with cupcakes, as I mentioned earlier, about getting too much frosting and falling off and stuff like that. They tweak that design to where it's more enjoyable eating a cupcake. And then they also have cookies, they have great coffee and all of that. So you get that full-on effect of a bakery. And it's a nice touch too. And then the atmosphere is very warm and welcoming. So it's kind of as if you're in a upscale, yeah, baby, as if you're in an upscale boutique sort of bakery, but you still get that down home sort of mom and pop shop sort of feel too at the same time. And on the negative side of word of mouth, you have a bad reputation. That's why, as far as Yelp reviews are a thing, and then as far as when it was more prevalent, when it was more in its heyday of, I don't like what you've done. Just wait till I get on this Yelp and get a review. And unfortunately, that it had real effect on businesses and operations about having negative reviews. And more prevalent now is, Google reviews. And you see these comments, and they do factor in to the aspect of where you want to go, what you think about this company, or you want to visit there, or you don't want to visit there. And so that's also prevalent, I think, too. And I'm working on that and the production of that too, about the aspect of the hold on, baby. The aspect of how effective advertisement is. And I also like to know what y'all think about this aspect of word of mouth and advertisement. You think it's effective, not effective? So feel free to either email me, find me on X, Substack, and of course, fill up those comments in YouTube. All right, so I'm going to, let me say that again. So I'm going to give some more examples about word of mouth, of how it was effective for these specific companies. Let's dive in. Okay. Okay, so this article was done on 2018, April 5th. So it's entitled 5 Brilliant Examples of Word of Mouth Marketing. So it pays to be kind and attentive to your customers. Word gets out when you deliver stellar service and show appreciation. If you keep meeting expectations, customers turn into long-time ambassadors for your brand. In the past, businesses had little power to tap into word-of-mouth activity. But the rise of social media and influencers marketing is making it easy to motivate followers into action. So it says, looking for smart ways to leverage your audience? Check out how top brands get customers talking with these brilliant word-of-mouth marketing examples. And yes, it has shown about the impact of influencers, specifically with as far as influencing on influencers from YouTube and how that impacts the market with certain products and things like that. So I find it interesting how, even seeing the foresight of that back in 2018, how prevalent that is of what's going on today. And then, also to add on with TikTok and the influence with TikTok, the absurdity of TikTok, but needless to say, pay attention to how that influence too with culture. So here we go with Pinterest. Pinterest thrives on user-generated content. The company depends on users to create vision boards and actively recruit more pinners into the fold. So how Pinterest goes from 3,000 followers in early 2010 to over 2 million in 2018. And yes, I did use Pinterest early on in the early 2010s. And it, it's quite different, as far as using it from a fashion point of view, and then following fashion trends and stuff like that. That's what I was looking at, and also with graphic design trends and stuff like that. It helped with getting that flow out there, with seeing what people were thinking about as far as graphic design and fashion. So founder Ben Silberman turned to the site's small but passionate audience to play a growth campaign. The site's loyal group of users really loved the product, so Silberman organized meetups with them to get feedback. Connecting one-on-one showed users the Pinterest team was serious about building a better site and a bigger community. Pinterest used this gateway to run one of the most successful referral programs of all time. The Pin It Forward campaign encouraged users to create pin boards and invite their friends to do the same. Striking visuals provided inspirations for people to join and offer a preview of exciting projects they could try. All right, on to the next, Threadless. Growing a community is an unviable way to gain insight about your audience while grooming brand advocates. T-shirt company Threadless did just that by gathering graphic designers and art fans to create, share, buy, and custom products. The company attracted 10,000 members in its first 2 years and earned $6.5 million under 4 years. The company engaged fans with ongoing contests and challenges that help design gain notoriety and sharpen their skills. So the Threadless team understood that they were catering to a fun, creative audience. The company showcased user-generated content as much as possible, from turning T-shirt designs into custom cakes to hosting themed battles. Needless to say, members were happy to promote their designs and bring more people to the site. All right, Coca-Cola. Coke has survived many ups and downs and remained at the top of the soft drink game for a reason. The company is good at taking people by surprise and spreading messages of goodwill and multiculturalism. And then a really good example of that is I like to buy the World of Coke, for those who don't know and for those who know. So for those who don't know, it was a popular ad in 1970, but specifically at the 1970, one of those iconic ads where you see a multitude of different races coming together, sharing a Coke, and promoting the aspect of racial harmony, but also peace within the races too. And that was quite impactful for the image of Coke and its brand. And so, and then now recently with having Coke ads that have a girl, it was one ad in some recent years about the aspect of doing, little TikTok deals, and she's doing a little TikTok deal and getting ready for doing that. And then, at the same time, she's drinking a Coke. Stuff like that, how Coke is being innovative and putting its pulse on putting the finger in the pulse on the edge of what's trending or what's next and things like that, as far as social commentary, or no, not really social commentary, what's attractive to people in the era. So, here we go. So, in 2012, the company installed happiness machines around the world. Customers looking for a cool beverage could get a free Coke in exchange for hugging the machine, dancing, or performing other antics. In another happiness campaign, Coke set up phone booths in Dubai that allow workers to call their families using bottle caps instead of money. More recently, the company used the Share a Coke campaign to receive sales across 70 countries. Coke printed bottles with common names on them, so people were inspired to buy them for a friend or relative. To take the campaign a step further, Coke created a hashtag. The social media element gave people extra incentives to purchase a personal Coke and share photos online. All right, Dropbox. Now, not everyone can sell out money for pricey marketing stunts like the Coca-Cola Company. And that's quite fine. So similar businesses can focus on smaller incentives such as discount, gift card, or key product feature. So Dropbox drew massive referral traffic with the promise of free storage space. Dropbox was offering an incredible, useful service at the same time when internet users were new to the idea of storing files in the cloud. So the company offered 500 megabytes of extra storage space to new customers and the people who referred them. Customers can continue to earn more space by referring more people, which increased loyalty. The referral company gave people a compelling reason to choose Dropbox over competitors. Offering more free space also encouraged users to keep all their files in one place rather than splitting content up between multiple free services. All right, Casper Mattress Company. When a product is significantly different or more expensive than the industry standards, it takes some imagination to reach customers. Casper broke the crowd mattress market with a 1,000 flagship product by making an irresistible offer. So take the mattress home and sleep on it for 100 days before deciding whether to return it. Who could walk away from such a tempting offer when it included fast online ordering and home delivery? That begs the question. Providing a long trial period also eliminated the biggest fear about buying a high-end mattress. So, customers had plenty of time to test the mattress for comfort and durability. More importantly, customers had a tangible product in their homes that they could use and show to others. At the same time, Casper circulated detailed ads and reviews on social media sites. Altogether, the strategy generated substantial buzz that helped the company carve a niche in a competitive arena. And also, it gives tips about word of mouth marketing working for you. So it says, know your audience. It says, make the effort to understand what customers love about your business and why they keep coming back. And that's a good example. It says, stay true to your brand. And it says, offer an incentive for customers to go the extra mile. And it also says, deliver high quality service to every customer. So that's good to know things like that and to follow up with stuff like that. You want to go into a business and you want to do things like that. It's good to get feedback and to get the know-how and research about that too. All right, so I'm going to end this show, this segment. The next segment is the last part, and I'm going to talk about the innovation of visual design, specifically with the 1984 Apple ad. All right, so let's jump right on into this. All right, so before I jump in, for those who know and those who don't know, so having Ridley Scott as the director and the master tier of having everything lay out visually for this ad is quite innovative. So he's done countless other movies, after Blade Runner, but the visual masterpiece isn't justifiable to. It's not the right words or adjectives or meanings to say about the movie. So the movie is an adaptation of the book Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. So, it comes up for debate about, which is better, the book or the movie. I think the book is really good as far as the aspect of the personal tellings, and then also with the aspect of how at hand with, with the aspect of the religious theme of at the wrong hands, it can go awry with stuff like that. But how the impact of the story with the visual aspects, it really gives you the emotional visual feeling of what the story is about. And that's something it takes a lot of time and dedication. And of course it's been done before, but when it's done well, you really take notice of it. It's with the aspect of one good example before Blade Runner, Venture, when the Alien, and how the impact of the visual and the sound and the psychological aspect of that really emphasizes the aspects and the themes of being in space and the theme of nature versus nurture, all of these things. And then relaying that into Blade Runner with the aspect of technology and humanity. All right, with that said, let's jump into the Apple 1984 ad.
Now, when can you buy?
Hold on, baby. All right, so the Super Bowl is a cultural event that attracts the attention of more than just football fans. Okay, so it says, with so many eyeballs tuned in, advertisers bring and come out of their best work, and casual fans tune in for the groundbreaking TV commercials, much as for the game. So it gives good examples, other examples, and it'll lead to the 1984 ad. So this is by the Smithsonian, and it is remembering Apple's 1984 Super Bowl ad. So it was by Eric Hintz, and it was written in 2014. All right, so who could forget Steelers Hall of Famer, Mean Joe Green, selling Coca-Cola in 1979, the Budweiser guys saying "What's up" in 2000, and as everyone's new favorite catchphrase. However, and with Apple's 1984 ad during the Super Bowl, it was arguably the most famous Super Bowl commercial of all time. So in 1983, the personal computer market was up for grabs. Apple was selling its Apple II like hotcakes, but was facing increased competition from IBM's PC and clones made by Compaq and Commodore. Meanwhile, Apple, led by Steve Jobs. Now, Steve Jobs, they the infamousy with him. So Wozniak is said to be the brains behind it, but as far as the software engineering and the aspect of building the computer. However, Steve Jobs was coined, even though, through the years it was pushed aside as he was the forerunner of everything, and that's something. But let's get into the aspect of let's up for another whole podcast there for me to touch on. But anyhow, visually, he was the brains behind the marketing, the marketeers, so to speak. All right, so was busy developing its new Macintosh computer. It says in 1983, most businesses and governments still employed large, expensive, and technically intimidating mainframes. And while the first personal computer of the early 1980s were smaller and less intimidating, they still featured black screens with green text, base commands like the C plus, and the dots run, and the auto exec dot bat dot, things like that. So, drawing inspiration from the pioneering, the Xerox Alto, and improving in the underperforming Apple Lisa, Jobs and the Apple team built the Apple Macintosh with several revolutionary new features now taken for granted. A handheld input device called a mouse and a graphically user interface with overlapping windows, the menu clickable picture called icons, cut, copy, and paste editing and short jobs, and his team were creating an great personal computer with intuitive and easy to use one he hoped would shake up the PC market. So that's up to debate for me. The thing about Apple is user-friendly, but, as far as the aspect of being overpriced for a underperforming computer, that's up for debate too. A lot of people don't think that Macintosh computers are underperforming, but the price doesn't justify the means. So it's one of those things. So at the same time, Apple had recently lured marketing whiz John Sculley away from Pepsi to be the firm's new chief executive. Sculley, who had masterminded the Pepsi Generation campaign, raised Apple's ad budget from $15 million to $100 million in his first year. Apple hired the Los Angeles advertising firm Chat, I believe, /Day to launch the Macintosh in early '84. So the account team was led by creative director Lee Clow, copywriter Steve Haddon, and art director Brent Thomas. The trio developed a concept inspired by George Orwell's dystopian novel of 1984. Which, needless to say, how apropos that was to have that dystopian feel and heighten that aspect of we're living. This is 1984. We're on the edge of that being a reality with what George Orwell was talking about in the book 1984. All right, so in which the party run by the all-seeing Big Brother kept the everything in check with the constant surveillance by the thought police. So, and this is even more prevalent today in the time that we live in, to add on to this. So, and the ad, IBM's Big Blue, would be cast as Big Brother, dominating the computer industry with its dull conformity. Well, Apple would rewrite the book's ending so that the Macintosh metaphorically defeats the regime. To direct the commercial, they hired British movie director with Ridley Scott, who perfected the cinematic look and feel of the dystopian features. Oh yes, and that's right. He was in. He did. Faded out of my memory. He did direct Alien 2. So, but David Fincher, is the writer, everything. So, features in Alien and Blade Runner, as I mentioned, the 60-second mini-film was shot in 1 week at a production cost of about $500,000. So, excuse me. So, 200 extras were paid $125 a day to shave their heads, march and lock step, and listen to Big Brother's stylish gibberish. So it was shot in dark blue-gray hues to evoke IBM's Big Blue. The only splashes of color were the bright red running shorts of the protagonist and an athletic young woman who sprints through the commercial carrying a sledgehammer and Apple's rainbow logo. The commercial never showed the actual computer, but ended with a tease of Apple. As of on January 24th, Apple Computer will introduce Macintosh, and you will see why 1984 wouldn't be like 1984. When shown the finish and ad in late of 83, Apple's board members did not like it. Scully, the Apple CEO, instructed the ad company to sell back both the 30 and 60-second time slots they purchased from CBS for $1 million. But they were only able to upload 30-second slot. So Apple was faced with the prospect of eating the $500,000 production cost of an ad that could really only air during the calendar year of 1984. So it swallowed the hard letdown of an ad run going on once during the third quarter of the Super Bowl. Some 43 million Americans saw the ad, and when the football game returned, CBS announcer Pat Summerall and John Madden asked one other question. Wow, what was that? So the ad, of course, was a sensation. The commercial, social, and political overtones held particular renaissance. It was, let me say that again. It reflected with them. It was really leave an impressionable mark, so to speak, with them. So, in the mid-1980s, as the United States and the Soviet Union were still engaged in an ideological Cold War, and I like Lyndon Johnson's famous Daisy ad from the 1964 presidential campaign. The ad aired only once in prime time, but was replayed again and again in the network news that evening, as the ad itself became a buzzworthy source of free publicity. But even the mystique of the single airing wasn't entirely true. So the advertising company had quietly run the ad one time before at 1 a.m. on December 15th of 1983 on KMVT in Twin Falls, Idaho. So the advertisement qualified for the 1983 Advertising Awards. As expected, the ad won several prestigious awards, including the Grand Prize of the Cannes and the National Advertising Festival of '84 and the Advertising Age of 1980s Commercial of the Decade. But the ad's most enduring legacy is the sentiment of the Super Bowl as each year's blockbuster monument for advertisers and their clients. Okay, so out of this, while the ad aired during the Super Bowl of January 22nd, it merely pointed to Macintosh's official debut 2 days later. On January 24th of 1984, Apple held its annual shareholders meeting in the Flint Center Auditorium on the campus of the Asna College, just a block from Apple's office in in California. Well, after dispensing with the formalities of the board votes and qualities earning statements, the real show began. Steve Jobs walked on stage in a double-breasted suit and bow tie and railed the troops by tweaking his chief rival, IBM, wants it all and is aiming its guns on its last obstacle. Okay, so it goes in to say, to industry control, Apple. So will Big Blue dominate the entire computer industry, the entire information age? Was George Orwell right? Jobs then presented perhaps the greatest new product demonstration in history. Jobs walked over to a black bag, unzipped it, and set up the Macintosh to wild applause. Then Jobs inserted a floppy disk and started the demonstration of the Macintosh window menus, fonts, and drawing tools. All set to the stirring theme of the Chariots of Fire. Then the Mac spoke for itself. Hello, I am Macintosh. And it also has a demo of this as a link in the source that I would provide if you're interested. And this also reminds me to end on this. It reminds me of, I believe that was a book. And then, it turned into a television series on AMC, Halt and Catch Fire. And if y'all are interested in it, I think I would recommend y'all check that series out or read the book. And it's really good about the seediness of what happens, specifically in the 80s. And so with the tech boom and computers and how businesses and conglomerates buy in and vie in for the next big thing with computers. And so this is all prevalent to me about that. All right, so this reaches the end of the Harboring Light. And again, I would like to know what you all think about the aspect of word of mouth and the aspect of technologies and computers and how, the aspect of how Apple really took that to the forefront of using visual techniques to luring the customer appeal and the customer buying power of the products. So either email me, find me on Substack, find me on X, and of course fill in the comments on YouTube. It'd be greatly appreciated. All right, so tune in, turn up, and absolutely take care. Bye-bye now.